We propose, in brief, that all resources, all land and buildings, all manufacturing establishments, mines, railroads, and all other means of transportation and communication should be not private property, but the common property of all those who work. We propose that society should consist only of those who work, which means that all members of society should be socially and useful human beings. We propose that production be made to serve the needs of those who work rather than serve those of the few parasites. We hold that science and that the production and distribution of goods can be planned to avoid anything resembling the crisis in capitalist society. Planned economy on the basis of common ownership without any class division is called communism. Planning under communism, planning under capitalism, impossible. Before we proceed, we must say a word or two about the proposal to have a planned economy under capitalism. Roosevelt's New Deal is supposed to be a kind of planned capitalism. Roosevelt proclaims partnership of government and employers for the purpose of regulating wages and hours of work, the amount of production, and the price of goods. Roosevelt promises to abolish crisis by doing away with what is known as the anarchy of production under capitalism. Experience has proved that planning under capitalism is impossible. Mussolini tried it. Hitler talks about it. What resulted is capitalism worse, confounded. Roosevelt has introduced the National Industrial Recovery Act, but the codes under the act do not do away with competition. Prices are fixed by the common consent of the manufacturers. It takes a good deal of dickering until the manufacturers agree on a price, with the tacit understanding that each one will break the agreement as soon as it suits his private interest. But even if the manufacturers should agree to adhere to the agreement, they are at liberty to compete with one another by introducing better machinery and by driving workers to higher speeds. Thus, the very mechanism of the Industrial Recovery Act induces the capitalists to increase the speed of production and to eliminate workers, which means increasing unemployment. Roosevelt's New Deal is supposed to take the wages of the workers. In point and fact, it cuts the wage of the workers in many instances, especially in higher brackets. But even where the wages had to be increased, such increases should not overcome the basic anarchy in industry. In the first place, prices of consumer goods rose even more rapidly than wages, so the real wages of the workers, expressed in food, clothing, and shelter, have actually been lowered. Secondly, this rise in wages gave to an introduction of new machinery. The New Deal and its high prices, say the analysts, a business magazine published in the New York Times for July 28, 1933, will put a premium on efforts to lower the cost of production for the sake of much larger profits. This will be done by investing more capital in order to increase productivity of labor and may very well result in a new and revolutionary technical developments. Revolutionary technical developments increase the production capacity of the plants, while the lowered standard of living of the workers make it impossible for her to buy all the goods produced. This very same discrepancy between production capacity and purchasing power, which brought about the crash in 1929, is in full operation under the New Deal. The decline of production in the last quarter of 1933 is proof of that. The New Deal was supposed to improve the conditions of the farmers. Roosevelt placed a processing tax of 30 cents on a bushel of wheat, which combined with the bad crops drove prices up for wheat. Roosevelt ordered 3.5 million bales of cotton destroyed in order to boost cotton prices. Prices of commodities soared. Whatever the benefits the farmers got from the price increases were wiped out by the increase of the prices of manufactured goods they had to purchase. The New Deal certainly has not done away with the crisis in agriculture. It has only aggravated it for the bulk of farmers, while helping food speculators, the food trusts, and the larger landowners to make millions. When we communists speak of a planned economy, we do not mean a plan similar to the NRA, which leaves everything in the hands of individual owners. We do not mean a plan that leaves all the wastefulness, all the inefficiency, and all the criminal parasitism of the capitalism untouched, only increasing the power of the big industrialists and bankers by openly abolishing the none-too-enforced antitrust laws by fostering price fixing by united manufacturers. We do not mean a system where, like at the present in the USA, the oil industry competes with the coal industry, and both of them with the electric power industry, where the rayon industry competes with the cotton industry, and both of them with the silk industry, where the lumber industry competes with the steel industry as a building material, the railway industry competes with the motor bus, and both of them with water transportation, and so on. What we do not mean is a system that the big industrials swallow up the small and middle industrialists, where the big banker gobbles up everybody and everything. See the record of the House of Morgan as partially revealed in the recent Senate hearing. Economic planning that is real. When we communists speak of a society organized on the basis of planned production and distribution, we mean something entirely different. What we have in mind is very simple. It is clear-cut. Do away with production for profit. Make a survey of all the available resources, plant and manpower, figure out how much of the products of each industry will be produced, say, in a year. Fix the annual consumption of the population at this rate. When you do so, you are sure nobody will go hungry or without a roof over his head. But this is not sufficient. Make it your purpose to increase production. Employ the best services of scientists to improve your machinery and your methods of work. Encourage scientific research to advance the science for the purpose of improving life. Extend this improvement not only to industry and agriculture, but to all realms of life. Is sure to increase. Distribute the fruits of increased production among all the members of society. Improve their well-being. Still more by further improving machinery and methods according to the latest stages of science. Distribute the benefits of increased production again among the population without exception, always heightening the technique of production to enrich the economic and cultural life of all the members of society and to ease their labor. Continue this process indefinitely. When you do, there will be no crises, no unemployment, no exploitation, no wars, no fear of the future. Is this impossible? We do not even have to refer you to the experiences of the Soviet Union where this is actually being accomplished. We refer you to the experiences of these United States. The total national income of the USA for 1928 was estimated at $89.4 billion. This would have meant $750 for each of the 120 million of the population of the United States, man, woman, and child, over $2,000 a year for a family of three, if it were not for the fact that more than half of this national income went to the owners of land and capital. And don't forget that this was the year where mass earnings were rather high. Under a system of communism, nothing would go to private owners of land and capital because there would be no such owners, and everything would go to the working people because everybody would be a worker. But communism would not content itself with a national income equal to that produced under capitalism. Communism is only incomparably higher organization of society than capitalism. If the Soviet Union, an industrial backward country, was capable of increasing output of the industry 300% in 5 years, an industrial, more highly developed country like the USA would be able to increase its output at least 5 times in fair years. Assuming that the national income of the American Soviet was originally equal to that of the 1928, the income of the family of three after the first American 5-year plan would be more than $2,000. If we add the use of all the cultural facilities, all the buildings, all the playgrounds denied the working class, the income in terms of utility would increase still faster. In 10 years, even at a moderate rate of industrial development, working only about 5 hours a day, a family of three would have a standard of living measured today by, say, $20,000 a year, and it would be only a beginning, for human inventiveness knows no limit and progress is unending. The application of science to human society was a slogan of technocrats in the heyday of their propaganda. But technocrats proposed to busy themselves with the production without reorganizing the foundations of society. This is why all their recommendations remain suspended in the air. In one respect, however, they were correct. They showed that what immense possibilities for the satisfaction of human wants are contained with the achievements of science and its future growth. Communism is compared to capitalism like capitalism is compared to the economy of native Indian population 3 centuries ago. Communism builds. It encourages scientific advances on a colossal scale. It makes man the complete master of nature and of social systems. It reduces human labor to easy talking of the supervising of machinery a few hours a day. It leaves mankind free to engage in the higher intellectual pursuits. It makes every worker a highly cultured being and everybody responsible for the welfare of all. It inscribes on its portals, "Let everybody work according to his ability. Let everybody receive from the common stock of goods and his needs." In the lower stage of communism, called socialism, the mile that everybody receives according to his work. But here there's no exploitation, no oppression, no insecurity, no poverty, but everybody is working and the world is made of the badge of honor. Life is made humane. With this begins the great ascent of man. But isn't it a utopia? Are those communist dreams? We propose to show that the communists are the great realists. The program advanced by them is not only capable of fulfillment, but the only forces that will realize it are already in operation. Utopia and social science. Speaking about realism, the year of grace 1928 certainly was a year of great prosperity in America. Everybody hailed the new era. Professors advanced ingenious theories to show that the progress of industrial expansion could not be checked. Newspapers hailed all the great organizers of industry who, in their judgment, made this unprecedented progress possible. Preachers and scenario writers, vaudeville singers and senators, generals and Salvation Army lassies, everybody gloried in the America's powerful uprising. And the leaders of the Socialist Party, who were supposed to be against capitalism, declared that capitalism in America was on the upgrade, that its constructive forces were growing, and the only way radicals could expect to accomplish anything was by pleading with the powers that there be some concessions to alleviate certain social evils. It looked all sweetness and light. But there were stubborn communists who refused to share in that general hallelujah. Those fellows were equipped with the Marxian method. Some clever guys in the American labor movement made light of the old German scholar Karl Marx, who they said spent his life in the British Museum and knew nothing about America today. Yet what Marx did was provide a revolutionary workers with a method wherein to analyze society, a method that can be applied to every society, whether Marx himself is alive or not. The Marxian method was further advanced by Lenin, who applied Marxism to 20th century capitalism. In the era of financial capital, what he called imperialism, Lenin was thus able to predict not only the World War, but also the Russian Revolution. The method of Marx and Lenin made it possible for communists of America to foresee all the thousands of learned professors and practical industrial leaders failed to see, the coming of the crisis in the USA. Why was it possible for them to predict the coming disaster? Because they analyzed the basic forces of capitalist society. They understood the maturing contradictions. They did not let themselves be fueled by superficial progress. They were the only realists in America. Compared with them, such men as Ford, Morgan, Mellon and Dawes, Hoover and Mills look like shadow-hunting fools. Or take the realism of Soviet achievements. When the communists, the Bolsheviks, seized power in Russia in November 1917, all wise men of the world, statesmen and professors, socialists and liberals, predicted an imminent downfall of the new regime. Yet the communists believed they could succeed. Here and elsewhere, the communists were equipped with Marxian analysis. They were under the leadership of Lenin. They knew that theoreticians of the capitalist countries refused to understand, that within the working class there had come into being a new power, a new consciousness born out of the new freedom, a new driving force that could not be crushed. Were they dreamers? Far from it. They were scientists, social scientists. The communists are the only social scientists in the world today. A scientist is not against dreaming, but his dreams are real. A scientist has his mental eye on the whole structure he plans to erect before the first foundation stone is laid. Is he dreaming? Not at all. He is equipped with the understanding of laws in nature. He knows his material. He knows how to arrange it. He visualizes all the processes which his material will have to go through until it's shaped to form a building. He knows the machinery and the other equipment necessary to carry his plan to completion. And yet, he is the biggest dreamer in the world because he dreams of things that cannot be made to exist. His dreams are not shadows. They are forecasts of reality to come. In the same way, communists are dreamers, but they are practical dreamers. They see forces of the present day society at work. They see the trend of this work. They realize the absolutely unavoidable outcome of the clash of social forces. They realize what has to be done in order to hasten the unavoidable outcome. They have before their mental eye a complete picture of the fundamentals of society to be erected on the ruins of capitalist society. They see social instruments whereby the stumbling block of capitalism can be cleared away to give room for the new communist society. They apply their forces at the most advantageous points to achieve these great results. When the final goal, the communist society, is always kept in the communist minds, they have a practical and a realistic program for every day. They do not expect you to sit idly by and wait until a communist society has fallen into your lap like a ripe apple off a tree. They formulate for the working class a program of action through struggle, based on the needs of the workers and the exploited farmers at the present time.